Hello, there's a book that I have to share with you that I want to tell you about. I can't stop talking about this book. I can't stop rereading it, writing about it, telling everyone I know about it. Thanks to my friend Veronica for suggesting it. The book is called If the Buddha Dated. If the Buddha Dated by Charlotte Cassell. And it's a handbook for finding love on a spiritual path. So, everything a lot of us who are maybe more spiritually inclined believe this book debunks, and it really tells you how we should be approaching love and relationships. And I'll just give you some examples. The good news is there's a lot of good stuff in this book, but the really good news is a lot of the best parts of this book come towards the end in part four and part five of the book. Um, so you have to get through it's a pretty easy read, and there's just so much wisdom. But when you get toward the end, there's a chapter 33 which says, what do you do when you want to run? So a lot of times when we're in relationships, we're just, especially in the beginning, thinking to ourselves, okay, I'm going to run. I'm going to run for my life. And she says, go with option two, which is sit down and suffer your terror, talk with yourself, stay put, breathe. Tell yourself you can stand the discomfort. It's not dangerous. So she's asking you basically to sit there and deal with whatever comes up in the relationship. Don't run. The spiritual practice is essentially to sit in the fire and deal with whatever comes up with the person and find out about yourself, find out about the other person, find out about your compatibility with each other. What's that buzzing in my brain? This is chapter 35. This talks about how we obsess all the time, especially in the beginning of new relationships. We're wondering when to text the person, when they're replying, when we're emailing, what they're thinking. And the reason we're doing all of these things, according to Dr. Cassell, is that obsessive thinking signals that we are not telling the truth, either to ourselves or to the other person. So the reason that we're buzzing with all these thoughts is because we don't know if it's our truth, we don't know what if it's their truth, and we're just hiding. So, and we would rather hide because we don't have the courage to face what's in the relationship. So we just want to hide and not know. And in that not knowing, we're hiding ourselves from the truth. And when hiding ourselves from the truth, our mind is constantly obsessing over things. So what she's saying is, you need to speak to the other person. You need to talk about what the issues are. You need to discuss these things openly. And a lot of times we don't want to do that because we know that if we did that, it could end. So we have a hard time being honest in our relationships. Chapter 38, Accepting Impermanence, Loss, and Joy. This is a great chapter, and she reminds us that we need to open ourselves to the inevitable daily losses of living so we can open ourselves to love. So much of the time, we're basically trying to avoid loss. So we're living these relationships and trying to do these relationships. Let me just try to avoid the pain of loss. And by doing that, we end up hurting ourselves quite a bit because we don't have an honest relationship and we try to keep postponing the inevitable. If we just accepted that loss is part of relationships and new love is part of relationships and saw it more as a journey instead of getting caught up in one part or the other, it would be a much healthier way of dealing with relationships. And finally, going deeper. This is chapter 39, Finding Love Beneath Illusions. And what she says in this chapter is essentially to get shaken. A lot of the times we don't want to be completely uprooted and shaken up and go through all kinds of inner turmoil, but she suggests in this chapter to go for it. Allowing yourself to be shaken to your roots is a source of a growing relationship. There is nothing to fear in being guided by the truth. The ingredients of a relationship are either there or they aren't, and the truth helps you find out as soon as possible. So, a lot of times, we would rather just be with the person, be in this state of comfort without really being shaken up. Because in that comfortable state, we're happy and we can buy into our illusions, we can buy into our fantasies, and we can go to sleep every night just being happy that everything's working out. But she's tells us throughout this book. I think that's what this book is essentially telling us. Live your truth, get to the truth. Don't hide from things in relationships that may end it, that may shake you up, that may be painful, that may result in loss. We try to do that all the time. She says, delve right in, look for the truth, move on if you must. It's an awesome book. It's very different than all of the advice I've seen out there. It's called If the Buddha Dated. If you want a different book, a really spiritual approach towards dating, I used to think before that, oh, the spiritual approach is run away. Spiritual approach is stay out of the fire. Spiritual approach is, okay, end things sooner. And essentially, she's telling us the opposite. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Feel free to leave me a comment on how you found the book.